Hi, I'm Rebecca Balcarcel. Let's take a look at the poem To His Coy Mistress by Andrew Marvell. Right away with the title, we have to define some words. To His Coy Mistress means that the whole poem is written to a woman. The whole thing is in the voice of a man who's trying to convince the woman to go to the next level with this relationship. Coy means shy or flirting but saying no, coquettish. And then mistress does not mean mistress like we think of it today, but it means sweetheart or girlfriend, the woman I'm wooing, the woman I'm trying to um, date, but more like court. So, to his shy sweetheart is more of a translation of what the title says. So, what is he going to say to this sweetheart, this girlfriend? Well, he's going to say in the first section, if we had all the time in the world. And then in the second section, he's going to say, but we don't. We don't have all the time in the world. And in the last section, he's going to say, therefore, we should do what I'm suggesting. And we'll learn what he is suggesting as we go through the poem. So he starts out saying, if we had all the time in the world. And he's very playful and clever about how he explains this whole idea. You'll see what I mean. Had we but world enough and time, this coyness, lady, were no crime. We would sit down and think which way to walk, and pass our long love's day. Thou by the Indian Ganges side shouldst rubies find. I by the tide of Humber would complain. I would love you 10 years before the flood, and you should, if you please, refuse till the conversion of the Jews. My vegetable love should grow vaster than empires, and more slow. 100 years should go to praise thine eyes, and on thy forehead gaze. 200 to adore each breast, but 30,000 to the rest, and age at least to every part. And the last age should show your heart. For, lady, you deserve this state, nor would I love at lower rate. All right, there's the first section. He's saying, had we world enough and time, well, if we had all the time we wanted, this coyness, this shyness, this flirtation, saying, no, well, I couldn't, well, this kind of behavior were no crime. It wouldn't be a crime because we have plenty of time, and I'll spend years praising you, and you can spend years refusing and saying no. Now let's see the specifics of that. He says we would sit down and think which way to walk. And where would we walk? Well, thou, by the Indian Ganges. So the river Ganges in India, she could walk along that river, while he'll be in England walking along the Humber River, which is the river in Andrew Marvell's own neighborhood, so to speak. And he says, well, you could be in this exotic river thousands of miles away, and you'll find rubies. Okay, that sounds fun. And I'll be here, and there's still plenty of time. Now, I want to point out one little word here, and that is thou. Thou would be walking. Thou by the Indian Ganges side shouldst rubies find. Thou, in this time period, indicates a familiar form of the word. The formal form is you. So today we use just the formal form. But back then we had the equivalent of a tu and an usted, like they use in Spanish. So tu is the familiar, the form that you use with children and your best friend, family members. And then usted is a form of respectful address. Thou is English's tu. And so that means that he is addressing this woman in the intimate form, in the familiar. Using thou pulls them together even more. He's asserting right here with the language that they have a close connection. So, since they're close, they can afford to spend years wandering by these different rivers. She'll be in the exotic one, he'll be in the Britain one, the hometown river. And he says, I would love you 10 years before the flood. Now he capitalizes flood because it's not just any flood he's talking about. He's talking about the flood that features in the Old Testament Noah story with the ark and everything, or in Gilgamesh, or in lots of other folklore around the world. There's a giant flood. And that's the flood he's talking about. He says, I would start loving you even before that. So this event that took place far in antiquity, I would love you 10 years before that event. And then, should you, if you please, and you should, if you please, refuse. So she can keep saying no until the conversion of the Jews. Now, how far away is that? Well, for Marvel, it was thought that the Jews would convert finally to Christianity at the end of time. So it would be a signal of the end days. So some kind of, end of the world. The Jews would convert. And so he's saying, I'll love you from before the flood to the end of time. And this is the way he's saying, like, if we had a gazillion years together, this is how it would go. And he says, you can keep refusing all the way till then. My vegetable love should grow vaster than empires. By vegetable love, he just means that it will grow like a plant that goes slowly and slowly taking over bigger and bigger areas of land, like kudzu or like English ivy that suddenly is up on your walls and up in your trees, and it just takes over everything. He says, my love would be like that. Vegetable, meaning it would just grow. And it would take over, vaster than empires. And then he says 100 years, or he says 100 years, the way it's pronounced at that time, should go to praise thine eyes. So we'll spend 100 years just on your eyes and on thy forehead. So eyes and forehead. 200 years to adore each breast, okay? But 30,000 to the rest, 30,000 years for the rest of your body. We're going to admire and praise. And age, meaning about 2,000 years or so, and age to at least to every part. So we'll just spend thousands of years on every single part of you, giving flattery and compliments. And the last age should show your heart. For lady, you deserve this state. He says, you deserve all this praise. You deserve millennia of years of praise. If we were immortal, if we had all the time in the world. And what about his love? He says, nor would I love at lower rate. I wouldn't want to cheapen you by giving you any less than you deserve. No low rate. Also, his love is high quality love. He's saying, my love is deep and wide enough and big enough that I could be loving you for all that time. So he's saying, we have a good thing going here. And if we had all the time in the world, you could keep doing this little shyness game. But in the next section, we'll see that he's going to say, we don't have time. We're mortal. We're going to die. And then in the third section, he'll start to say, well, therefore, what are we going to do? How do we live life to the fullest right now? And you can probably tell that he's going to say something like, let's go ahead and have a physical relationship now. Let's go ahead and pursue our love. Let's take this relationship to the next level, because we don't have all the time in the world after all. We're only young ones. So one of the themes in the whole poem is seize the day, live life to the fullest, make the most of the time you have. But another aspect of the poem is this romantic aspect that is saying to the woman just directly, yeah, let's move on with our relationship. Let's move it to a physical level. Let's pursue this love, because we don't have time to waste. So in a sense, it's, a modern woman would say maybe he's kind of pressuring her, that he's being a little pushy, a little demanding, not necessarily romantic. On the other hand, it's done in such a playful way with this language, with this, incredible hyperbole and exaggeration of, we'll take 200 years with each breast or whatever. Yes, that makes it more fun and more playful in tone, and not truly a pressuring and a it's not intended, I don't think, as a ploy to manipulate the woman. It seems like he's making this argument with a smile, knowing that this may not be convincing, but he's going to try. Well, you read it how you like. That's what I'm getting. But I hope you'll join me for the next section, where we'll go into parts 2 and 3 and look at each line there and see how he ends up in his proposal, in a way, to this woman, that they move the relationship forward.